Hi guys, how are you? I hope you're well. My name is Wanyiha if we haven't met, and this is part 2 of a segment that I'm doing about the altars that we were fighting, yeah? And so I'm sharing my story in the hope that God will use this, yeah, as He has sent me to do this. He will use this to reach particular people, and He's doing this because He really cares about you, yeah. In the recent past, God has sent me some teachers, yeah, and as they were sharing their stories and also confirming what mine was about, I was in such admiration of them, yeah. And like I always tell you guys, we only know in part, yeah. And so in this journey, God has shown a lot of things in part. And for me in particular, I didn't understand exactly what was happening, what I was fighting. And but looking back, I can see everybody that was used and why. And so the other day, God sent this teacher to me, and in one of the teachings, yeah, she requested for, in one of her videos, she requested for somebody to share a scripture she couldn't recall. And I immediately went to Google to check that, yeah, and it was saying that God hated Esau, yeah, and he was gonna prove this to the Israelites, yeah, to Jacob. If you remember, Esau and Jacob were at loggerheads, so to speak, since they were in their mother's tummy, yeah, and so it's like Jacob was always fighting for Esau's birthright, okay? And so even eventually we see him tricking him out of it and getting it, yeah? And so far where I had reached with you guys is where both claimed or came into their own inheritances, yeah? Esau by breaking the yoke of his brother off his back, and Jacob for working for his uncle, and so ensuring that he had dealt with this, and now with this awakening, he was coming into his own. He was going into, he was moving away from Laban's house, yeah. And so I go into Google and I see this scripture that I had read before, but it had never made any sense to me, and it showed me, like, it was showing the end to Esau's story. For me, I was like so happy recently for Esau, as you have seen me sharing, that he found this secret. He married the women in the Canaan, perhaps just to spite his mom, who he knew had wronged him, and for whatever reason he ended up in that, yeah. And so this was so shocking to me, and I shared it, yeah, and it had a huge impact to me, but I didn't know why until later, yeah. Oh my God, that is where God caught me, because I never thought I'd share the details of my stories like this. So I've been giving you a lot of what I thought was enough, and now the other day, God now told me that I have to do this, yeah. And this scripture is what he was using to scare me. Listen to this, yeah. Now the lady was talking about how if you don't take up your assignment, God is not pleased with you, yeah. And so this is the Malachi I came to on Google. So Malachi chapter 1, and it seems like it's from verse 1 to 5, and it says, this is the message of the Lord that this is the message that the Lord gave to Israel through the prophet Malachi. I have always loved you, says the Lord. But you retort, really? How have you loved us? And the Lord replies, this is how I have showed my love to you. This is how I have showed my love for you. I loved your ancestor Jacob, but I rejected his brother Esau and devastated his hill country. I turned Esau's inheritance into a desert of jackals. Esau's descendant in Edom Esau's descendants in Edom may say, "We have been shattered, but we will rebuild the ruins." But the Lord of Heaven's armies replies, "They may try to rebuild, but I will demolish them again. Their country will be known as the land of wickedness, and their people will be called the people with whom the Lord is forever angry. When you see the distractions for yourself, you will say, truly, the Lord's greatness reaches far beyond Israel's borders." And why did God hate Esau? Please do the same for me and Google, why did the Lord hate Esau? I know that the reason is because he scorned his birthright, yeah? And so ended up now causing all this to happen, yeah? God made sure that Esau, despite all these things, that despite even the word that he sent, had come out as the firstborn, yeah? So everything else that Jacob took from him, like when he took the birthright from him, it was trickery, right? So he was stealing from him. And I have to tell you that my teacher in this season was coming to awake me to the fact that destinies are actually stolen, yeah? People can steal your star, people can manipulate your destiny, can manipulate your life, yeah? And perhaps you caught it in the few videos that I did after that, yeah? And I had to sit down and learn from her. And now I was mentioning those two, that this is a factor. But I really wanted also for God to show me, like, what am I doing? Because I don't wanna, go by what somebody else is teaching, because that is their calling, yeah? And so, yeah, you may have caught that in the few videos in the past. For me, I felt like, okay, so God, you're sending me this. And when she was sent to me, a series of dreams and also revelation followed, yeah? Okay, so let me take you back to where I bring my baby boy home. And some things were happening, yeah? Some manifestations that were very scary to me. My child didn't seem okay. He was a beautiful, healthy baby boy, born at 3.8 kgs, so big enough, yeah? He was doing well, he was suckling well, but there seemed to be a problem, yeah? Where I would just notice like big pimples, yeah? Big pimples with pus in them come on his skin. And I was shocked, like, what is this, yeah? And something like anxiety set inside me, and I would just burst into tears. I would just feel like there was an attack, yeah? If you've ever been spiritually attacked, then you may know what this feeling was like, yeah? So much anxiety, you could be sleeping and wake up screaming and shouting. And in that period, I had this house help, yeah, that my heart just rejected. And so in one of those times, because I had my room, and at one point I was resting because I wasn't healing, and they had taken the baby, yeah, to take care of him. And I wake up just like this, or it was happening in this season. I wake up like I'm under attack, and I'm screaming. And then I try to contain myself, and I go into the living room where I see my friend, like just scanning the room. I see my friend who had come to visit. She was like a sister. She was like a child of the home, yeah? So in that season, all my friends were like my mom's friends, the children of the home, they would come freely to our home, yeah? So this friend was also a friend to my husband. We had all grown together. And so she was visiting, and I'm assuming she's the one holding the baby, yeah? So I come into the room. I see my friend. I see my mom. My sister is in the kitchen. And who is holding my baby? This girl. And this girl had come when I was pregnant, and for some reason there was just something, yeah? My heart, could not accept, yeah? But I was feeling like I'm the problem. And I see her holding my child, and something akin to madness takes place, and now I'm screaming. and I go back to my room. So my mom and my friend follow me, and they're like, what's happening? And I say, I know something is happening to my baby. I feel something is happening to my baby. And I just remember this after I finished that first video, yeah. So after so many prayers, they're praying over me, casting whatever this is that is happening. Now everybody's in my room, my grandma, my auntie, everyone is panicked. What is going on, yeah? And my mom now sees this has been happening. You're panicking. You're just irrational. What is going on? And so she makes the first step, yeah. And through now we are trying now to do the decent thing, yeah. She sends a message to my mom-in-law to come so that they can talk, and she says, I'm not going to lose my child because of whatever anger your husband is carrying, so you guys work it out. This child is here. He's already here. She's been pregnant for 9 months. You guys didn't say anything. And so now they talk as women, yeah. And she's like, my son didn't say much and you didn't want to interfere. Now she's speaking for her own part, yeah. But it's like they never did sit as a family to talk about this. And so I'm thinking, what kind of a thing is this, yeah? I'm already feeling like I'm alone in this, yeah. So in my young mind, I'm thinking, once I get out of this, I am going so far away, okay? But now my mom-in-law, who was always very interested in this child, goes and talks to the husband, who apparently did not have a problem. They just did not know how to approach, yeah? And they weren't going to force us because we were the first Gen Zs, I'm telling you. When we said things, because now we were like the first generation that like in both our families that seemed very educated, very like we knew what we were doing. I was forever now telling my mom things like, I told my mom I won't go to university, I will start working. That is what I had done, yeah. So no one is telling us anything, okay. And it seemed like we were a force of nature ourselves. So our parents were waiting for us to say what we want, okay? But now this is too much, yeah, for us. And it's like, I'm going through all this, yeah? But it's like a shameful thing, yeah? So I'm not even telling my boyfriend. So they talk as women, and the next day she comes with the husband, and this is very scary for me because this is a person I revere, you know. And so I'm wondering what will happen now, yeah. And so he goes through that tradition of spitting on me, and lo and behold, I begin healing. And I have to tell you what the healing was, yeah. My episiotomy, that you know how they do an episiotomy when you're getting a baby, was not healing. So that was very painful and scary because it had to be done several times, yeah. And it was so scary because what will become of me if I don't heal, yeah. I would, you know, like remain with a gaping wound. What kind of a future would that be, right? So yeah, this was very serious, and so it had to be dealt with. And funny, now I'm healing, okay? And so later now they talk as a family, and dad now is really, really serious and hoping, and just, you know, like with respect, approaching this subject of the child's name being changed. We had already named him after my grandpa because I was a Gikuyu daughter living at home, okay? And so they recognize that, yeah, this is very difficult. We're just following tradition, okay? It's not spite, it's not anything. And they recognize that in this home, their son is very much loved and appreciated, yeah? So it's like to everyone now, they're realizing that there's no serious battle, yeah? The issue is this name, okay? And so, because my family can see these people making peace, and they can see that the two kids, yeah, these two young kids are they are very tight, and my family is also really appreciative of how my husband is handling this. And he was so sweet, even to the relatives, to my aunties. Like, he comes, if the baby is wet, he's like, no, guys, show me how to change him. Yeah, so totally invested. And you know, there's a thing about a family admiring a young man who seems to be nice to their daughter. Okay, so even though he doesn't have to seem to have a lot going for him, he is very nice, you know, and they're approving. Yeah, and so their parents now are seeing this other side of the family, and they realize these people are actually don't have a problem with us. Yeah, so let's do the right thing. Okay, and so without involving us, the next thing they would do is now come and start like negotiation. It's like now they want for me to go into their family. Yeah, so the boy is not being asked anymore, and neither am I. It's now the family, the parents are handling this thing. Yeah, and so they say that they are coming now to visit with the older men in the society. Yeah, so this is when the baby is 6 months. Yeah, they send a pledge that they want to come and visit. Okay, and so my mom now approaches also her side of the family, the relatives, the wazee. Yeah, wazee is older generation. Yeah, older people who would come and decide the fate of the people of the family. Yeah, and because we had gotten into the family way without involving these people, there had to be a way that both sides of the family would look at this thing and find a way now where they could agree. Yeah, so now because the Merus now were in agreement, they wanted to do the right thing, my family could not say no, especially because both me and my boyfriend are in agreement. Yeah, and so they start like some sort of marriage negotiation. In Gikuyu it is called coming to know the home. Okay, so it is the family of the boy coming to know the home of the girl. Yeah, sort of now forming a friendship. Yeah, and for me I was scared because at this point this boy is in school. It would seem like I'm usurping this thing. Yeah, you now want to start marriage and I'm away. Yeah, and I've always told you I'm going away, so I didn't have the certainty. Okay, a few videos ago I talked about what the chosen one goes through. Yeah, you don't have the certainty in you know, certain things. Yeah, and even then I didn't know I was going to make this videos. So anyway, I wasn't certain of what would happen with us. I just knew that as long as this guy was attending school, you know, furthering his education, me and my son will stick to the path that I chose of leaving school early and working. And I wanted to prove that I can take care of my child. Yeah, but funny thing, in the same day that they came, my boyfriend came in the same day from school. Yeah, for a short break. And so he comes and finds this going on. And I'm like, listen, I have nothing to do with this. Yeah. And of course, his parents would explain. Yeah. So they did that. They got to know the family. The families got to know each other. And so they had no problem changing the child's name. Yeah. And just awarding this man the respect that he deserved. That is December 2009. In 2000, in February, just before February, my dad-in-law fell sick, and this sickness was very unusual. Yeah, and it so happened that my boyfriend was around, so the mom would take care of the dad, watch how he's doing, but eventually it seemed very serious and he was taken now to hospital. And in that hospital, I would visit. And now, you know, I love cooking. Yeah. So I would insist I'm the one who is cooking and go visit dad. So when we visited dad, we didn't know that he was going to leave us. Yeah. He was very sickly, very, very sickly. And in one of those moments that we visited, we are trying to feed him. He can't eat. And because I'm there, he's insisting that he wants to go to the bathroom, but he really shouldn't have left his bed. Yeah. And this whole time, it's like he's just sticking around long enough to pass some instructions to the family. Yeah. And so he is telling his friends, yeah, that these two children must marry. Okay. And he tells that to the wife as well. And now when I came here, this was not told to us, me and my boyfriend. When I came to visit and he was so uncomfortable, he wanted to go to the bathroom. And because I am here, he's insisting he has to go. But so I went to the nurses and I'm like, could we get a bedpan? And you know, Kenyatta, yeah. So our nurses were very rude and they're like, who wants to use it? Don't tell us how to do our job. We'll come and take care of that, yeah. But I find as I'm coming back, Dad already convinced my boyfriend to take him to the bathroom, yeah. But it wasn't working well, yeah. So whatever was happening, because they've left, yeah, I come in and just clean up. I clean up everything, and just, you know, they come back because my boyfriend now was seeing the conditions were not okay. He comes back to a clean and powdered room and he's wondering what just happened. He's looking at me like, did you do this? And you know, I'm silent, yeah. So he brings him back, puts him to bed, and the nurses now come to cause trouble. Why did you take him out of the bed? This man is very seriously ill. And we didn't know it, but he was deteriorating, yeah. But we had a friend in Kenyatta and they weren't rushing to take care of Dad, yes. But we had a friend and so we went back and communicated to the friend, we need help in Kenyatta to take care of Dad, yeah. And so he came into the case and insisted this man has to get x-rays and all of that, yeah, so that we know what is going on. We didn't know what Dad's problem was. And it turns out that it was very advanced diabetes. And we couldn't know because Dad was always so active. He would walk for miles every day, yeah. But because his diet had never changed, this diabetes was not manifesting, yeah. And so we learn what the condition is, what the problem is. And so he starts getting care, albeit very slowly, yeah. But so when we went home, yeah, after one of those visits, my boyfriend would look at me and say, you know what? I could never marry anyone else. What you've done today was just something else, yeah? And so we did not know it, but we were making covenants, yeah? I mean, which girl would you want to hear that? But also still, I know that will happen in the future, okay? And so we continued taking care of Dad. And one time my mom went to visit, and for some reason, my mom is a chosen one, yeah, and she has a different kind of depth that we never realized all this time, okay? So my mom touches his feet, yeah, and she comes back very, very disturbed, and I'm like, how was Dad? And she said, did you guys notice how cold your dad is? And we are like, no. And she keeps quiet, okay? The very next day, we hear my boyfriend went with his cousin, yeah? And they come back with the news, Dad is gone. And so it was very shocking, but nothing was clear at this point, yeah? But we understood partly why this guy had insisted so much that he wants to come and know home, right? Formally, like introduce themselves as the in-laws, yeah? But now he's gone. What happens now? He's gone in February when the baby is 8 months, yeah? And so we bury him, and now Mom starts talking about these things. You guys, whatever you do, remember Dad said that you have to get married, okay? But we don't want to be obligated, right? We don't want this to be forceful. We want to believe that if we are gonna marry, we are marrying for love, yeah? But it seems like now Mom is so keen on this thing happening, and I keep thinking this will not work, you know? And so eventually when I went back to work, I moved away from home, yeah? I started living alone with my child and taking him to daycare, which would drive my mom-in-law so mad, yeah? She was so angry. And she's like, why don't you leave the child with us? And I'm like, this guy has a lot of education to do before, you know, we move in. But I'm not saying it. I'm just thinking, this is wrong, yeah? And for many years, I would say maybe I should have moved very far away from home, yeah? Because we didn't know anything. But I was so guilty for, you know, coming into the family way. But all these things had taken place, yeah? But now, as I am living alone with my child, we didn't even live for long. I lost my job, yeah. And so I'm like, okay, I have to find another. And I think it is in this period, yeah, that I was trying to find a job somewhere else, and the bills were accumulating, and so I had to, consider now moving back home. But now, my boyfriend goes and tells the mother, yeah, and so she's like, no, 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 she doesn't go back home. She comes here, okay? She comes here, and we are like, so where will I live? And she's like, she comes here, she is your wife, go and put her in your room, okay? And so we are like, okay, we have no choice, yeah. My bills are piling, and for whatever reason, my boyfriend, even with a degree, could not find a job, okay? I have to go drop my son. I'll be back shortly. Hey guys, I'm back. So we left off where we were planning that I move into my husband's home, okay? And so we did that, yeah. And I was feeling like such a failure, a bit ashamed, okay? And so we were going to be dependents, yeah? So more on my mom's plate, yeah? My mom-in-law. But she was insisting. And even in the times I was living just with my son, she had been providing, yeah, like she used to buy a lot of food for the family with her chamas, and she would make sure that a lot of it is sent to my house, yeah. And so she was doing her part and doing it very well, to ensure that I'm very much supported, yeah. So there was no running away from that. She was a good woman, yeah. And for as long as I was there, right, I would see her. It's not like she loved me. Like I couldn't tell that this is love and that adoration, yeah. But she always, like, we had these moments where we would sit together, perhaps preparing food, the way you pick cereals, rice, and all that, and we would talk, and like. But I was this new person that she was getting used to and very careful with, okay, because I'm her friend's granddaughter, okay. And so we started living together and trying to get jobs, and for whatever reason I would be the one who would get gigs here and there, and perhaps sometimes along the way my husband would also get small gigs. But it wasn't long before mom-in-law said that she would be leaving us in that property and going up country, and I was like, this is random. Also, we didn't have like a proper house up country, yeah, but she insisted she wants to go there, and it made sense that she would go and develop that place, yeah, because as long as she was in Nairobi, it wasn't developing much, and that was a very productive place, yeah. It was also a new land that she had bought, yeah. So she had purchased land in a different place, not in Maryland, and yeah, so it wasn't so developed, and she wanted to go and do that, yeah. So she would leave us in charge. And she used to say, now you're the mom, okay? So you have to take care of everything. And with her were her grandkids, yeah? And that was very scary to me. Like, how am I going to take care of these kids? But they had their mom, yeah, who was always working. And for me, that was a challenge because these kids, okay, I'm a disciplinarian, yeah, and it's part of the reason why I'm not the good cop in my house. My husband is, yeah, so I would discipline each kid, yeah, and that would be very troublesome, yeah. Now after my mom left, yeah, we tried to, just do things together, but they were not working out very well, yeah. So it seemed like it's like I'm punishing these kids too much, yeah, and I was punishing them, yeah. So it's I'm not trying to deny, but some weird accusations would rise, yeah, and so the short and long of it would be like, where is the mom? Why are we not working in tandem? Yeah. So like all these accusations would lead to a particular thing. Yeah. It would lead to these children being taken up country. And I would just later realize that that was the plan all along. Nobody was so willing to take care of these kids. And that is why under my care, they were like, that would come with a lot of accusations. Yeah. So along the way, we got pregnant because now we are married. Yeah. So this is around 2001. Between 2001 and 2002, I was pregnant. Yeah. But I was sick the whole time. In fact, I was so sick to a point where I stopped doing the job that I was doing then. I was so sick. There was this foul taste in my mouth, metallic taste. Yeah. We didn't know it then, but it was like preeclampsia happening. Yeah. So in the 8th month is when, I went to the hospital, and the lady said she couldn't hear my baby kick. And it had been like a while I couldn't hear movement. Like it was like a day I couldn't hear movement. And I remember during that day I had seen my mom, and she told me, you look like death. Random. Yeah. Yes, what does that mean? And she says, you look like tonight you're going to a ward, Okorara ward, like you'll be in a ward today, you'll sleep in a ward today. And so that is during the day. In the evening, I went to a neighboring clinic, and the lady couldn't hear the baby. And so she told me immediately go to Pumwani. Yeah, it's one of the major maternity hospitals. And when she told me that, I started panicking and panicking and panicking. And I went to my mom crying. Oh, they're saying they can't hear the baby. And I'm panicking. So before they organized transport and everything, and we reached the hospital, my pressure is so high up. Yeah, it's at 180. And so before they found that out, I sat at the bench where they check the women who are coming in, and I was like, my husband was behind me, and I was like, hey, I need Fanta. I want Fanta. And the nurse who was attending the other women in the line who are ahead of me was like, what did you say? I said, I just want Fanta. She said, oh my God, kimbia. And she was like telling my husband, run. Now it was my husband and my mom, run and get all the things she needs to be admitted. Like they used to ask for cotton wool, I don't know what else. Yeah. And he's like, do I bring the Fanta? And she's like, no, just run and get those things. I'm telling you, she's going to be admitted. Okay. And so we are panicking now, and she's telling me, now calm down. And I see nurses surrounding me, and they're like, Tulia, this is a treatment I had never gotten at Pumwani Hospital. We all know it to be like rogue nurses. And so they're just coming around me, treating me so gently, just telling me, calm down. And they take me to a bed, and they start injecting me. I don't remember the name of that injection, but it was supposed to make me sleep so I calm down. Yeah. And so I sleep, and when I wake up, I see a nurse carrying all my belongings, and she's telling me, I'm taking you to the ward. Yeah. And she holds me. I'm like, this is weird. So she takes me to the ward. Yeah. And on the way, I asked her, is my baby okay? And she's like, what is most important here, and the thing that we are working on is saving you. Yeah. So even if the baby is really not okay, we won't know until later. We are just focused on saving you. And I'm like, I'm fine. I want to know if the baby is okay. And she tells me, it doesn't seem like both of you are okay because of this pressure. We have to bring it down and ensure that you'll be okay. And so I'm like, no, tell me if my baby is okay. Me, I'm fine, as you can see, and I insist. And she tells me, no, the baby is gone. And so I'm crying and throwing tantrums, and I want my baby. I feel like he's still there. I want my baby. And so I'm taken to the ward, and at night, and they, inject me, and I fall asleep. At night, I wake up with this sharp pain on my side like this, yeah, and this pain would keep repeating throughout that period. I wake up with the pain and I can hardly sit up, yeah, and I'm crying. I've woken up from a dream that my baby is crying or something, and I wake up, I'm panicking, I'm crying, and the nurse comes so gently. I remember that nurse was called Nurse Eric or something like that. She was a lady, yeah. She was called something with an Eric. I will never forget her because the gentle care she gave me was abnormal, okay? So, she helps me sit up and she puts so many pillows on my side so I don't lie back all the way. The pain is so sharp, okay? So I'm like, now since I'm seeing a kind face, I ask her, is my baby okay? And she tells me, we are not sure, but it doesn't seem like your baby is there. And I sleep again while crying. This time I'm so dragged, I can't even stay up for long. And then the next day, now my parent is coming, my mother and my husband, they come and they are told they have to take me for a scan, yeah? And so I'm taken to Cambry to be scanned, yeah? And it's in the evening. And as we get into Cambry, we see this doctor or this guy who is operating the scanner just walking around. And he says, it seems it's you guys I was waiting for. You're like, what? Okay. So favor just happening, yeah? And so I'm taken in and he does the scan, and I ask, is the baby okay? And he tells me the baby is not there, is not alive. And I'm crying and I ask him, are you able to tell in the scan whether it's a baby boy or a girl? And he says it's a girl. So I go outside, I'm crying the whole time. The girl I always wanted is gone, okay? I thought Mike would be a girl. Everybody thought my first son would be a girl. They had bought clothes. My sister was always buying clothes. I had so many pink clothes, yeah? And now the girl that we all wanted is gone. And so I'm crying. I go back to where my husband and my mother were. And this guy comes out and he sees crying so hard, yeah, and he's like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry for you guys, I'm so sorry, don't even pay, okay, don't pay, just take her back to the hospital so that they can do now the procedures. So we are taken I'm taken back to hospital, and now they are told to buy the medicine, yeah, that's used to remove the baby, the fetus, yeah. And so that thing happens the next day, yeah. So I'm taken through the treatment, and now the baby is coming through, yeah. And it was very painful, I think, because it's not a normal birth, yeah. So it's at 8 months. This is a stillbirth, and wow, it's been so many years. I don't know why I would feel like crying. Okay, so the baby is taken out, and okay, the baby is not taken out by anybody. It's just me and the baby, yeah. And so there was no nurse near to help me. I'm screaming, I'm crying, and once the baby came out, I'm so shocked. But the baby is a boy, okay. So I'm crying. No nurse is coming near me. They're like, watch her, let her cry. Once she finishes, will come and take the baby. So I have enough time to look at my baby. He looks exactly like Mike. And my baby is usually born doing this, yeah? It's like that lisp of mine. So the baby is like this, with the tongue. And so like the face is completely Mike, yeah. And I cry for my baby. I'm so torn. I just observe him, check everything, and we hadn't even discussed what the procedure would be. I was just following what the hospital does. So yeah, once I was done crying, they came and took the baby, and so I was taken to the recovery room. And now later my husband now came with my mom. Yeah, they were always together, those two thick as thieves, yeah. So they were always together in all these things, yeah. So they come, and So I tell him what happened, and he couldn't even see the baby. Like, he didn't fuss, he didn't ask to see the baby. Plus, we didn't know even the rights we had, yeah. So we let it go, and eventually I was discharged, yeah. And this whole time I'm crying, I'm a mess. I'm waking up from dreams where my child is crying, and I'm panicking, and it becomes a whole horror story, because if I wake up, I'm like, the baby is crying, and he's like, there's no baby. And I would remember and cry, and I'm in mourning this whole time. And eventually now we are comforting each other proper, yeah. So we had been told to wait a year before we get another child, but 5 months later I find that I'm pregnant, yeah. And I'm happy, I'm very, very happy. This is another unplanned child, yeah, like all the others, but I'm very happy. And among the books that my father-in-law had in this place, he was like so he wasn't learned, but he was a man of knowledge, yeah. He had the gift of knowledge, and among his books was a book in Swahili. It's written mahali, it's called Mahali Pasipo na Daktari, a place where there's no doctor. So this book had a lot of information, and coupled with others, I began to learn about my condition. There was no Google then, yeah. There was, but not available to us. And so I learned everything there is to know about toxemia, or what I thought there is to know. And I understand it's a salt poisoning. As soon as I knew that it was affecting me, what that metallic taste in my mouth meant, I should have stopped eating salt, yeah. But now I'm pregnant, and I start now taking care of this baby, and I'm not eating salt, I'm not eating anything I'm not allowed to eat. I now go into Whole Foods, you know, brown breads, you know, like whole foods, vegetables. I think that is where I began to seriously now taking care of my health, eating just vegetables, you know, just taking care of that. And it would seem like this pregnancy now was growing too fast, yeah. And we thought, my God, it must be twins, because they are twins in the family. And I would start now going to clinic very early, preventatively, yeah, so that nothing happens to this precious baby. And I'm praying over this child. I'm just making sure that everything I do is right, okay? And so this pregnancy is just taking over me, like the baby is growing so fast, yeah. And so in the 4th month, I start going for clinic seriously, and I'm telling them, this is the 4th month, and they're checking me and laughing and calling other nurses, check this, these young girls, they think they know, you know, what their last period is, or when they conceived this baby. I'm like, this baby is 4 months. I know, because the moment I knew I was pregnant, I know exactly when I got pregnant. And they're really laughing. And now they told me, you know, we have to eliminate this doubt, because this child should be 6 months, yeah. So either they are twins, but we don't hear another heartbeat, so this is one child. So go for a scan. And they send me to Pumwani Hospital. And so they do a scan on me, and they find that the baby is exactly 4 months, and it's just one child. But the rate at which they are growing, he was supposed to be like under my navel, but he's above, yeah, and growing. And so they're like, this is a very delicate case. So this is where you'll be coming for clinic. And so we start doing these monthly clinics at Pumwani, and soon they're like, you have to come every 2 weeks, yeah. And by the time we're reaching that point where it's 7 months, I'm attending every 2 weeks. I'm so big. And my mom would tell me, that is how big your pregnancy was. But I was like, man. So I was so big. If I walk, you know, near Amira in Isili, because the hospital was in Isili, I would just laugh at. I was like, you know, those long melons, like that, yeah. And sometimes I would just sit down in the clinic and just pass out, yeah. So like I was a high risk case, and my husband would be made to walk with me everywhere, yeah. So very, very weird circumstances, yeah. So eventually I would even get infections, like the baby had occupied everything, yeah. And it's like he was even eating me. I was so tiny, but the pregnancy was so big, yeah. And he didn't come at 9 months. He came 9 months, 2 weeks. My God. By then, I had been admitted. I think I had been once admitted and I had been treated for infections because it's like the pressure was causing me to have infections. Yeah. But I got like some good care in Pumwani. Yeah. And my whole family believed in Pumwani because I was also a high risk baby and I got jaundice at birth. And so I would be taken very good care of, and they transferred my mom to Pumwani. And it turned out that I didn't even breastfeed because we were separated because I had jaundice. Guess who else had jaundice at birth? My baby. Yeah. And so when the time came to birth Tamwa, he was so big, but nobody was talking about maybe I should get a CS or whatever. They said he had engaged very well and I could actually birth him, yeah. Even though I was scared, I was feeling like he will tear me up. My leg was affected, everything. Like there were times during his pregnancy, my leg would just stop moving and I'm walking. I'm not moving. And so I have to stop there until my leg corrects itself, yeah. But it's like people were not fussing about this. I was just feeling all these things, all these pains, all these discomforts, and just moving on with life, yeah? I wasn't putting like so much care to myself. Everything was focused on this baby, yeah? So I wouldn't complain much. And so when the night to give birth to him came, I would be taken to hospital by the usual culprits, yeah, my mother and my husband. And so we went there, and as soon as we get there, the water broke, yeah. And so quickly, I'm admitted, and so they leave me in hospital, yeah. There's no that privilege of having your people there. They leave me in hospital. And yeah, I'm in deep labor. I feel like I'm going crazy, yeah. And then something that had happened when I was birthing Mike, I start pushing before my time, yeah. If you've seen that video where I was talking about the labor pains are here, I told you that I didn't birth correctly. I would push before time, yeah. And that would seem to be the pattern with me. Anyway, so anyway, I didn't have to push this baby much. I was suddenly crowning, yeah. And so I didn't even know I was crowning, but I was like asking the other women, what do you see? I'm screaming. And the whole time, it's funny, but my aunt had talked about how whenever she was at the ward, she would pray for all other women. And as soon as she prayed for the last one, she would pray and they give birth, yeah? Because she was feeling, their pain. As soon as they give birth, she would be like, oh my God, I wasn't praying for myself. Let me now start. And as soon as she starts, she delivers. So I started doing that with Tamwa, and I didn't have to wait long. He came through, yeah? And there was no nurse, there was no midwife in my section. So I'm screaming and I'm commanding other women, can you go call the midwife for me? I was furious. I was so scared of losing this baby, yeah? And so a nurse comes running, or a midwife, yeah? And she's like, this baby is big, because the head came out, yeah. And she's telling me, don't push anymore, let me get ready. So she gets gloved and all that, but I'm pushing, and she's telling me don't push, but I'm feeling this urge to push, yeah. And so she starts assisting me, and it's like the baby is stuck and they have to pull him out, yeah. In the process, fast forward, she dislocated his arm. But this baby wasn't crying. He didn't cry, but he wasn't affected either. He's looking at the lights. They are beating him. They turn him upside down, that first aid, and he's not crying. He's chuckling. He's like, Now, to take you back just a little, on his 8th month, we had decided to select a name, and we were also hoping it's a girl, yeah? And so we went into the Kamusi and selected a name we found so fascinating. I always feel like God led us there. So the name Tamwa means to see happiness, yeah? And the name of a girl with the same meaning, it would be Tamia, yeah? But we said this one will call him Tamwa because Tamia is common, okay? And so this nurse is telling me, as she's birthing me, this baby is so special. Why don't you call him my husband's name? because my husband is a pastor. I'm like, no, we already have a name for this child. Thank God. Because I was a people pleaser, I would have totally gone with that, yeah. And I told her we already have a name for this child, okay. So I knew he'd be called Tamwa, and I was also surprised it's a boy, yeah, because we never checked. I was surprised to see it's a boy, and I was like, okay, it's good we chose the name Tamwa, okay. And so they say they're taking him for first aid, yeah, because he didn't cry, and he's also overweight. Guess what his weight was? 4.8 kgs, yeah. And so they went, weighed him, did his first aid. They told me they had to even give him glucose, yeah, because he was too big, yeah. And so they brought the baby back to me. I had always had this thing where I say I don't like light-skinned boys, yeah. But this is light skin, and immediately as a mom, I embrace my child, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I said that I don't want light skinned baby boys, because I used to feel some type of way about light skinned baby boys. But what do I know, right? And so I'm like, I'm so sorry. And this baby was so big. It's like he was shaking. The flab on him was shaking. And it's like he didn't have a neck. Yeah, he had a characteristically short neck. All I could see was the face and the big cheeks lying on his neck. Yeah. And so they come and tell me the baby has to be taken away to the nursery because of all the issues they saw at his birth. And I would tell them, you know, this baby is okay. There's no need of taking him because this baby, we called him Tamwa to see happiness. So there's no way he will cry. He will never cry. Like, he won't be a crier. Now I'm prophesying, yeah. But they took him anyway, made me sign some papers. And before then, like, everybody, all the nurses were called to see this big baby, yeah, from such a small woman. I was so tiny. I was shaking from all that, although that is normal. But I was so tiny, they didn't understand how I got a 4.8 baby. But I was told that that is how I was as well, yeah. And now I'm 5'2". Anyway, they take the baby away, and we would see our babies now later. But he was born at around 6:15, and so after that, I send the message home. The baby is born. It's a boy, and so you guys can come at the visiting time, yeah. And it was such a blessing with all my babies. They would take me at night, and in the morning I would have a baby with all of the babies, yeah. So they come and I tell them what happened. The baby's in the nursery and everything. And they didn't, the nurses only told us to go to the clinic after that visit. Yeah. So it would be like 2 visits around lunchtime and just before, and around 4. Okay. So after they left is when we were now ushered to the clinic. And I find my baby is so big and he's been put in a bed with somebody else. So his leg is on this other child, but there was a lady there who was our neighbor, and I was like, please find a way this child can be kept separate, yeah. And so the reason why they hadn't called me all this time is because they found the arm was dislocated, and so they told me he had to get therapy on that, and so he would stay for a while, yeah. So they're breaking all this news now after everyone is gone, my visitors, yeah. So the next day we start now going the normal nursery hours to feed our babies and take care of them. And I'm hoping this child now will be released soon, but now they told me that, like, now we have to see your husband. So we come with him when he comes for visiting hours, and they tell him everything, including that your baby has jaundice, okay. And so we are going to have to do phototherapy on him. This sequence of events may have happened a bit different, because I remember coming into the room and finding him having therapy, yeah, the phototherapy as well as the therapy on the hand. I think they gave my husband the full report, not me initially, yeah. But sometimes I get the details confused. But I'm saying all this to say now this is how the child came into the world. And it was a bit challenging. He had to stay in the nursery for long, and this this had happened to me as well, yeah. And in the end, not to what is it called? Not to give you a spoiler alert, but all these events were very significant, yeah. Later, So when we took him home, I found that this child was so unique. He would breastfeed. He was growing so big. And so I had been advised not to give him anything before 6 months. And so he would just suckle, and I was okay with that, even though like now my mother, my aunts were like, no, this big child is so big. He will drink you to the ground. Just whenever they took him for babysitting, they would give him like potatoes, and he would have a stomachache all night. Yeah, so I had to be very firm and insistent that I have to breastfeed him until 6 months, and we did that. And he was growing so big. Each time we went to the clinic, he would add another kilo. Yeah, and so we got so close to with this baby, because if I ever went away and he wanted to suckle, even though like I even had a helper, and we would do like all these things for him, including bottle, he would cry. This kid was so passionate. Yeah, he would cry. Everybody would be scared. And even though we were living with people who we weren't so close with, they would all come whenever I was away to help take care of this child, help shake him, because he would not shut up until I came back. Yeah, and so this led to us having a very tight connection, even though his dad would do everything. My husband is the type that will stay the whole time with the baby. And since he didn't have a job, I was the restless one, trying to form businesses, do this and that. Yeah. And he was just studying. Yeah. And that was also a bone of contention. We were always fighting, like, go get a job. And he would try and not get a job. He would just get like small gigs. Yeah. And so there was all those frustrations, like, you're not getting a job. And I will tell you something that happened before this child was born. When he was 8 months, the dad had always been applying to universities, and at this point, he had been accepted at the University of Birmingham in UK. Yeah. But we tried, like even selling property. We told mom about it. It was so expensive. It was like 10,000 pounds for him to just join. We didn't have that much. We wanted to sell a property, yeah? And I was like, I even went up country and told mom, let this guy go. Yeah, so the whole time, even after Tamwa is born, we are trying for him to join this university. When he couldn't join the first year, he deferred. Yeah, and we are still hopeful we'll get money for him to go. So I remember when Tamwa was 6 months, I went to up country, and I'm begging mom, yeah, please make a way for your son to go. I will take care of everything that he takes care of. Yeah, just let him go get his studies. As you can see, he's not getting a job. It's just studies that he's good at, and he had always talked about going away. And so I tell mom about how even before, when I was getting Mike, this guy, I knew he would go abroad. Yeah, so I'm telling her I'm in agreement, because this guy has always said he will go. Yeah, so let us help him go. I promise I will take care of the kids. I will take care of everything. And mom told me I have not refused. But are we even getting a customer? We had tried getting a customer for one of the properties. We were not getting. So eventually we just settled. Yeah, but this guy was always like looking for a school, attending the expos at Sarit, where the universities abroad usually come and hold expos. He would go attend, and he would try applying, and now he had this acceptance, got the admission letter, and we had to defer, waited, nothing was happening, and now he's just stuck taking care of his kids. Yeah, and so we're trying to run like small businesses, because whatever we were getting from this property that mom left was not enough. Yeah, and it also included taking care of the other members of the family. But as the young wife, see, it's like I'm the one who is in charge. Yeah, and with all my pregnancy cravings or everything, yeah, it's like I'm getting the bulk of it. Yeah, and so this would lead to a lot of hate in the family. Yeah, so I'm guilty because of this situation. I feel like now we are in charge of all this, the things that mom used to to be in charge of, and she was taking care of the whole family. But it seems like I'm so demanding. Yeah, so I'm always so restless, because I know what is being said. I know that, like now this is what this guy is using to take care of this budding family. Yeah, and we have so many needs. Okay, our son would soon, was in school already. Yeah, Michael, because there's a 4-year gap between Michael and Tamwa. And so I'm carrying more guilt, yeah. And eventually, like, just so much was being said, so many arrows thrown at me, so even whatever I wasn't hearing was really affecting me, yeah. So I was like a crazy person. I was like, so just feeling so dejected, but people always find a way to move on, yeah. People always find a way to live together, but I was seeing a lot of just animosity towards me, yeah. But look, remember, I wasn't the one handling the money. I recognize that now, but I was so defensive then. I was just in a bad place, okay, all these years, yeah. And so Tamwa, when he was 2 and 8 months, against our plans, we hadn't planned for it, but by then I was running a daycare in that family property, because I was like, okay, I don't enjoy living with all these tenants. They speak too much. They are all against me, because remember, I was the only one who had joined this place, yeah. Everybody else had been there, including the tenants, yeah. So they felt they also had a right to talk, and everybody was against me, yeah. And I had noticed that was very, very common with us, yeah. Like, everybody loved my husband and nobody seemed to love me. I had this like crazy reputation, yeah. And even though I didn't know the word much, I felt like I knew some parts, like a good name is better than perfume and all that, yeah. And I was feeling just so dejected. And in those years, I had my friends, he had his friends, but some friends were, and I said this because now I understand much more in hindsight, yeah. There were friends who would come and just seem to be, how can I say? You know how the Bible says that when a man gets a wife, he obtains favor from God. That was part of my dejection. I felt like this was judging me, because ever since I came into this man's life, he had not been productive, right? He wasn't getting a job, even with a degree. I actually seemed to be the one who would get small gigs without a degree. And so we would have like, I would even, like invite him to my gigs and all that, just things we did to survive, yeah? And somewhere along the line, when I moved out of home, yeah, there had come this prophetess, yeah, that had said, the person you think is gonna get married, which seemed like it was me, because I was the only one who seemed to be in a relationship, yeah, and we were hopeful that one day we would get married, is not the one, okay? And so she had gotten my sister to like go back to a boyfriend she had, that they never, like, they had separated, yeah, and they had a child together. So in those times I was thinking, and this is taking you back, in those times I was thinking, it's so funny how in my family there doesn't seem to be marriages, yeah. Nobody succeeds in marriage. And so I had seen all these failures in marriage, except my cousin who was married to Ameru. That one was standing, yeah. And so we would go to her home, as like she was the only person married, and my aunt, yeah, who had been married as a second wife, yeah. And I really wouldn't want to mention her, but those were the only two people married, yeah. And so living away from this family, but everybody else was so much around this family, except my namesake who had bought her property. She was doing well. She was a strong woman, yeah. And this woman always loved me, yeah. Even when I got pregnant and I was feeling guilty, it is to her I would go to, and she would call my mom and talk to her, okay? And so she would convince my mom, there's nothing you can do, just accept this. And eventually everybody would be shocked that this guy would stick around me for the time that he stuck around me, yeah. But it's like we were being pushed together by forces we didn't know. Also because we were both like now jobless, and it didn't seem like there was an end to this, yeah. So stuck together, yeah, just doing life together, avoiding like going back home and all that. So it's like I was married. But I kept remembering that prophecy that she said, even the person you think is the one getting married, like now coming into marriage, is not the one, okay? So she made my sister go back to her boyfriend, and it didn't turn out well. But still, we were stuck here, yeah? But in all these times, yeah, I'm telling you that my husband used to find favor with other people and even with women, okay? So some women who were, okay, like would be my friends, would come around, like would show him that kind of favor where it's like they're making themselves available, yeah? But for some reason it wouldn't pan out, and it's like some I would fight, but the guilt I was carrying inside for ever having come between him and his first girlfriend, I felt like it's what was leading to all this trouble. We are not getting jobs, we lost our second baby, and so now there is, okay, there is a particular tribe of women that seemed to be attacking me in this manner, yeah? And so they would come as my friend, but I could see they're trying to, you know, like seduce him, yeah? And they were always so much prettier. They had the kind of features I didn't have, okay? But I noticed that, yeah? And so like I got some kind of an attitude towards this tribe that I won't mention, yeah, because clearly there was seduction taking place, and at first I had entertained it, yeah, like these people would be around us even when we were boyfriend and girlfriend. We move in, and sometimes there was this particular person acting like shocked, yeah. How come you guys are moving in? How come you guys love each other this much, yeah? And for some reason, like I would explain, we are together, right? And we have a baby. But it seems like now we are getting deeper into this thing. We are getting babies, you know. Baby dies, you get another baby. And now it reached a point where I have a daycare, you know, like I was thinking there are some things I could establish, yeah? So I have a daycare. I want to raise my child with these other children and, you know, make some money, yeah? And along the way, I got pregnant with my last child, yeah? And this child would make me sick, yeah? And I was so sickly and weak, and I felt like it was going to happen like the other one, but it didn't quite, yeah? So I would identify the problems, just trying to be careful. And at this point, Tamo was 2.8 years, and we had been so close with this child, yeah? But suddenly, I couldn't stand him. I don't want a child around me. I don't want anything. I just want this baby to just come. And I send all other children away and close the daycare, yeah? So that was among many other things I had tried to do that never seemed to work. I was like, I'm dying. This child is killing me. And it felt like this child is so small. And I was thinking, perhaps it's because Tamo was so big, maybe he affected my muscles. This child seemed like he's hanging, yeah, like he's so heavy on me. And I'm thinking, even when I get scans, they're saying it's just a tiny baby, yeah? So why is he so like this, yeah, in my tummy? And I would be like so tired, so out of it. I don't want to see Tamwa, and it was breaking us apart, yeah? Me and Tamwa had this very, very tight, almost spiritual connection, yeah? We used to call each other best friend, yeah? And so I don't want to see him because I can't be bothered. I can't do anything. And because we had lost a baby before, now husband comes into action, takes care of everything. And I do believe, like, at this point here, it's like even the people who used now to see us as a joke, suddenly they're not there. We are separated from everyone, yeah? So he's helping. And there were quite a number of women who would come to my house just to frustrate me, yeah? But for some reason now they're no longer there, yeah? And it would turn out that in the time I lost the baby, they had accused me of causing it because I used to have headaches with this second baby. I used to be so badly off, yeah? And so I would take Panadol, yeah, which is the only thing that's recommended. I also used to have a lot of nausea, and my doctor would prescribe some things. And so the women around me that I considered friends would say that I killed my own baby, yeah? So more guilt, yeah? Because I was taking medicine. Why everybody gets headaches in pregnancy. Why was I like this? Yeah, so I killed my own baby, and these things would really torment me. Yeah, so many attacks throughout the years, and I felt like all these attacks were directed at me. Yeah, and again, the Bible says that a man, when he gets a wife, he obtains favor from the Lord. But this man doesn't seem to be getting favors. He's not getting a job and this and that. Yeah, so it is me. I'm the problem. It's me. Okay. But for some reason, we keep going on, and we have like this family chamas. So I had like a community and all that, and I get this baby. He is 3.7 kgs. Yeah, so smaller than everyone else. But oh my God, this child was just so different. But when he came to the world, he was a model child. Yeah, but he had affected my body so much. I was feeling like I'm a different person, yeah? And the dad, I think out of nurturing me, now took over his nurturance, yeah? And remember, we were like fighting when I got pregnant with this baby, because we are like, why do I keep giving birth? We don't even have anything to take care of these kids. But for some reason, they just meshed together from birth, yeah? So it was his baby. He started taking care of this child. I felt like I didn't even have anything to do. Now Tamwa and Mike are going to school. Like Tamwa, I think, was going to daycare. We were really trying, yeah? And now he has this baby, and I start getting restless, and I decide, that was the year 2006 when Tosh was born. And in the year 2007, I start looking for a school, but I looked too late, yeah? And so by the time I'm finding a school, it's already late, 2007. They tell me that they do the school in terms, yeah? So I should join in January 2008, yeah? And so that is where I'm going to stop this one and continue in the next. I'll see you then. Bye.